Welcome to the After the Show movie podcast, brought to you by your hosts, Ascully and Cidtalk. We're addicted to movies. Are you? Welcome, Cidtalk, to this wonderful day. How are you doing? What is that? What happened to you? Did you lose?
Once again, from about 12 seconds ago when you said I'm going to start, I forgot.
And you went,
My brain was like, oh, I'm doing something else. And now I'm doing this. Well, I'm all right. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I've just watched a movie.
Yeah. What was the before the after the show discussion? Various items.
Talking about movies and actors, and that was it, wasn't it?
A painting my mother did to protest the invasion of Ukraine by Russia.
I'd never seen that before.
You hadn't, so I showed it to you, and I was like...
It was slightly disturbing.
My mother did not like a bully. My mother passed away very recently, so of course I'm going through lots of pictures and things, and you hadn't seen it, so I was like, oh yeah, so...
Yeah, I truly had not seen it, and now I am scarred for life. Thank you.
No. Why? Because she doesn't like a bully invading another country. She didn't like that. So,
all right, let's get on with it.
Cidtalk.
Let's
Aye.
It is Saturday, November the 23rd. This is After the Show, your weekly movie review podcast, and on this week's 866th episode, we're looking at the movie Megalopolis. Is that right? Megalopolis?
Megalopolis. You keep leaving out that L.
Oh, there's an L, isn't there? Yeah, that's right. Megalopolis. It's a 2024 release, out now on streaming, rated R. Its runtime is 2 hours and 18 minutes. And it's from our friends at Lionsgate, who sent us a copy for review. Cidtalk, can you give us the synopsis of the movie Megalopolis?
Question first. Why do you give the runtime? Is it because people are weird about how long movies are nowadays?
It's part of my statistics, and I like numbers and letters.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Summary of Megalopolis would be a vision of someone who or different. Okay, let me focus.
Is your brain turned off again?
No, it's just, this one's really hard because...
It is,
of course, layered. You know, we've got the ancient Roman conflict of Caesar or whatever their names were. Now, I forget the names. It's really about what is society and where do we go with it? And is it forged by love and joy and invention, or is it fueled by anger and war and control and power and money? So that's kind of the underline. And then on top of that is all of this sort of like nerdy, pretentious references to all kinds of ancient things.
Let me give you the one off the box.
It doesn't say that?
No.
I'm shocked.
It's a bit more
professional,
synopsis-y.
Okay.
All right, it says, the city of New Rome faces the duel between Caesar, a brilliant artist in favor of a utopia, and the greedy mayor, Franklin. Between them is Julia, with her loyalty divided between her father and her beloved.
I don't think Franklin was greedy, because everything he said, you said the mayor was greedy, but what he really wanted was to provide, his stance was...
Yes.
Jobs for the people, industry for the people. Now, yes, he did seem to enjoy being wealthy, of course, but his objective was to build a society based on our old ideas, which is build big stuff and a few people own the banks and all the people get fed. Even if you're a little poor schlub, at least you've got something. Yeah. I was like, I didn't see him as greedy necessarily, but maybe now that I say it like that.
They're actually based on the two, like, Roman, it's based on Roman politics, and I was reading just up on it. Just
right, I will say that I understand why people will be critical. Yeah. Because it is pretentious and obnoxious, and it can be confusing. I get that. But I think that I'm in love with it.
Well, I will be on a different page, I think.
I am completely in love with it because it sort of mimics my mind. Well, so me and Scorsese, seem to understand humanity better than everyone else.
Scorsese wouldn't be involved in this movie at all.
Oh, sorry, Ron. Coppola.
Same person to you, I guess.
See, this is how my mind works. It doesn't matter who it is.
Anybody.
We're synced up.
Anybody who's made like mafia type film.
Yes.
They're just Scorsese.
I get it. Coppola. He and Coppola, we kind of have a similar...
I wouldn't say I loved it personally.
I know you didn't. I could tell.
No, I can tell you this about it though. Well, I did. I admired it.
Aye.
He definitely went for what he was doing.
Absolutely.
It's not following any template. Problem I had with it is I was in love with it and then not. It was all over the place for me.
Okay.
I was like, okay, I really love this part. And it was a part where they were driving in a limousine and it was raining outside. And the cinematography is just like incredible in this part. You can see all the raindrops and bokeh and...
Gorgeous.
Colors. It was amazing. And then I'm like... Then we get to this scene where it's in this Colosseum.
Yes.
And it's really over the top and it goes on a bit too much and it's really like indulging in itself.
True.
And I'm like, please,
all true.
Can we please, do we have to, okay, let's get off this scene. And then instead of getting off this scene, we get into this other scene where our guy, Caesar, is like on drugs and he's like doing, I don't know what the fuck he's doing. You know, the backstage drug antics. And then it turns into like this weird artsy, it looks like a music video in parts.
Kind of, yes.
And then it cuts back to the Colosseum and there's even more, like this woman singing. I'm like, oh God, come on.
Oh, see, I love that part because, not because of what it is, but because of what it's representing, which is that we're all a bunch of fucking idiots. Yeah, and that is why I love it.
Even though it's got things to say, it's not very subtle with the things to say at all. It isn't
subtle, but then why does it have to be subtle?
Well, I don't know.
If you want subtlety, I'm sure there are lots of books and movies that are like kind of creep around the issue, like The Constant Gardener or something like that, where they're making a huge statement, but it's sort of like it's more palatable because it's something different. But this is like garish.
Yeah,
I think.
And I'm all for like I really like David Lynch movies, for instance, where they're avant-garde,
absolutely,
and a bit in the ether that you've just got to kind of go with it. Like this is the thing.
True, you do love all that.
And this movie has smatterings of that, but then it also has like parts where I'm just completely taken out of it. Just some performances are awkward to me, like
that I didn't pick up on at all. I feel like it was all appropriate to what we were doing. So, you know, I mean, I might have seen the same thing, but I feel like the awkwardness and the sort of rigidity of some people was because everyone is sort of a robot at this point.
And the dialogue is awkward, but on purpose a lot of the time, because sometimes like our guy will just break into like a whole Shakespeare soliloquy or whatever. He'll just, and you'll be like, okay, what's he doing? What's he telling us? Well, we've heard this piece of Shakespeare a billion times.
Right, but you haven't heard it in the context of what he's trying to tell you.
So then you have to go like, what is this? And then you're like, okay, I don't
like this.
That doesn't do a lot for me.
I got you.
And there was a bunch of that.
I disagree with you.
But then I liked how like stupid it is sometimes. Let me say...
I feel like stupid's a strong word, but
I would say silly then.
Yes, silly for sure.
So let me say a sequence with a bow and arrow. I know it's probably straight from some Roman legend.
I don't know, but it felt appropriate because of those characters.
It made me laugh, though. I started laughing.
Right, because it's ridiculous. They're ridiculous. And so their end, or at least, you know, seemingly their end, needs to be fitting of how ridiculous they are. Because that's kind of what happened.
Yeah. I really appreciate like the art side to it. It has a lot of just scenes that are like paint splashing around or like just interesting looking, like where he has a dream and like a cloud with an arm, and I like all that stuff, artistic stuff. The sets are really grand. You have to admit.
Very grand, yes.
Even there's a scene where Caesar and Frank meet up and they're in a room, and it's where he comes to tell him what he can do for him with the envelope. And I was looking at the room thinking, this is no ordinary room. Look at this room. Like, this is a room that Caesar guy just sits in, like, chilling. It's basically the top of the Chrysler building, right? Is that what that building is?
I think so, yeah.
And it's just magnificent on the inside. And I'm just like, this guy just hangs out here. Sometimes he climbs out the window. But again,
it's that juxtaposition of what we're supposed to come to think about this guy is that he really has society and humanity at the core of his goals. He's the visionary. He sees a future where buildings, this is the Adam Driver character, Caesar. So he sees a future where buildings heal themselves and cities are for everyone and people can spend all of their time in leisure and creation and being good to each other, right? That's his vision, while at the same time, he lives in an unimaginable lap of luxury, secure and safe and away from any threat or concern or worry about anything to come. And so it's easy for him to have this vision, right? Because he doesn't have to go to work and he doesn't have anything to worry about. So it's that where you're like, yeah, you want to champion him. And at the same time, you're like, but he's just another obnoxious, rich asshole.
But did we also mention that Caesar also has a superpower?
Does he though?
Yeah, well, he invented it or something.
I don't know if it's real. You can talk about it, but I don't think it's real.
I'm not so sure.
I think that we're talking about Scorsese and maybe his obsession.
No Scorsese in this movie.
No, his Coppola.
This is going to happen more than once.
You know what? I need to put his name. His name needs to be here. Where's his name? Okay, Francis Ford Coppola.
Maybe Scorsese helps him.
Are we sure not the same person? Because I'm convinced. But I feel like the idea of, well, what are you saying? You got me off track.
Your brain is dead.
It is. It is. I forget what I was going to say. So someone listening will be like, you were talking about... It could have been a great thought,
but the Scorsese ruined it.
My genius is gone. It'll come back.
You were saying about the magic power, whether it was not real.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Is that the magic power we're talking about is that early in the movie, we're introduced to the Adam Driver character, Caesar, who somehow, as he's about to jump off the Chrysler building, stops time and is able to reel himself back, and the clouds all stop rolling and everything stops moving. And then and you're like, okay, was he trying to commit suicide or was he testing his theory or whatever? But I don't think even that was real. I think that he's obsessed with, he has a vision of a future that he can never be a part of because he knows humanity. It will be impossible for him to capture and to get done what he wants to get done in the amount of time that he has. And so that whole thing is a metaphor for how artists and creators and people who, and also the bad people of the world who want to control everything, they want to stop time so that they own everything and have everything. I feel like...
And he was really into love as well. And and there was a sequence where his girl and him came out they were over the city looking over, and then he stopped time with love, like where he was about to kiss her.
Right. And I feel like that it wasn't real.
You can't be sure though, can you?
Can't be sure.
With the way it's presented to you.
I will say this too, his vision of the future with the living buildings and everything, I think is really ugly and horrible. So that's me.
It's kind of like a cheap sci-fi movie.
Very cheap sci-fi movie.
Like gold.
If that's the objective, fair enough. But I was like, ooh, this is the vision you have of the future.
Yeah, he likes, what do you call them? Rolling sidewalks where you just stand on them.
I don't mind the individual elements, but it's the overall look of this sort of like living creature of a city. And I was just like, ew.
Yeah, he's developed this substance. What did they call it?
Yeah, I forgot now.
Stupidanium? Something. Whatever it is, he made this thing, and it's like a self-healing fabric / you can make anything with it.
And you can also heal people with it. Bones.
And you can also...
He got shot and he gets healed. And
you can make it any color or anything you want. Invisible. I mean, he tried to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he knew more about it than we did.
Agree.
He made a dress out of it at one point that you could see through.
Yeah, it wasn't... I think that also is a metaphor for something we haven't figured out yet, because there's a part in the movie where this young woman is singing about her commitment to virginity.
Yeah.
And they are asking the public and all the rich men, as you notice, all of them are rich, white, middle-aged men.
Yep.
Who are throwing money at her virginity. And as And the whole sequence is about how that is going to maintain our society, is that this virginal young woman, well, they put a dress on her made out of this stuff that he invented, and it makes her invisible. And she throws her arms up in the middle of her weird like presentation. And she's like, you can see right through me. Yes. Like she literally tells you.
And then it actually has those words written on the dress.
Yes. And so, yes, an intelligent person can see through the bullshit. And so I feel like that was a very specific. And then all the other things I have to work out. I have to run it in my head to figure it all out.
I hated that scene in the...
Yeah, but it was exactly
I hated the shots of like... it looked like shots of all the different parties in the different chairs. He kept looking at them from this weird angle, and it was almost like nobody was in the same room.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it was like, oh, they recorded that bit on Wednesday and that bit on Thursday and just pitched it all together. That's how it felt. I understand the concept, what they were going for, like the Colosseum in Rome, but it's really like the West End, what do you call it here? Broadway.
It was very theatrical, yes.
Yeah.
But that was the idea, that we've turned everything into a show, and it has to be glitzy and glamorous, and we don't care about bad things that are about to happen.
And it's not subtle, because there's a man stood on the street corner reading a newspaper that says a satellite is going to hit the Earth and like we'll probably get killed or something. And all the other people are looking at the ladies in the nice dresses over there.
Correct.
Distracted. So it's not subtle. There's a lot of banging you over the head kind of thing. I have to admire how interesting it is.
Absolutely interesting,
it's just, there's something overall about it that, I don't know, I was a bit off kilter with it. And it's just...
Is it because of expectations? So you would have thought that... I didn't really
have any.
Scorsese/Coppola.
Scorsese/Coppola. I do have...
You have specific expectations.
Yeah. Everybody goes, oh, well, I love The Godfather. No, for me, it's Apocalypse Now. I love Apocalypse Now. I think it is masterpiece worthy.
Okay.
I think it's unbelievable, that movie, especially for when it was made. And if you watch it now, it's still an absolute, amazing war movie, if there is such a thing. In one way, this is like it come out of somebody's brain, and you can see when you're watching it on the screen, oh yeah, that's somebody's thing. Because nobody would go to this extreme to do something that wasn't what they were thinking. It's just, he came up with it a long time ago, right?
Yeah, when he was a teenager.
And he kept writing it down. I don't know, did some of it come true maybe in all that time?
I don't know. You'd have to research. I don't feel like that matters so much.
The politics of Rome is very similar to the politics of today.
It's similar to everything, and Rome didn't invent the politics.
No. And it does kind of mess around with that a little bit.
Humans are the same as we've always been. So over here, you've got some people living and they've got some stuff. And over there, you got some people and they have some different stuff. And somebody in both of those groups is an asshole. And they decide, I want what they have. And somebody in the group says, hey, how about if we share? And the assholes say, I don't want to share. I want all that shit. And so that is humanity. And it's been going on, I'm sure, since we crawled up out of the ooze. And so I feel like we just have a lot of writings, don't we, from ancient Rome. And then, of course, we have Shakespeare, who's rewritten everything from like ideas like that. And now we can observe how many years of media that we see how we are. And that is how we are.
So we're saying you love this.
I do.
And I am lukewarm, but admire the efforts with it.
Okay. You don't dislike it.
I don't think I'd watch it again, to be completely fair.
Oh, I don't think I'd watch it again.
No.
That's not a measure for me, because that's a lot.
I watched a movie this week called Dinner in America, which was, off the record, not part of this podcast. And I would definitely watch that again.
Oh, would you? Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Like, it gave me something. I felt from it.
Oh.
Whereas this, I didn't really. I wasn't invested in anybody. I was pretty cold with it.
Okay.
Apart from the visuals, which I did dig sometimes.
Well, now you're making me sad.
Yeah. All right, let's get on to the cast. Adam Driver plays Caesar Driver? Is that his name? No. I put Adam Driver plays Caesar Driver.
No.
Let's say he's Caesar Driver.
No, he's Caesar Wren. That's who he is.
Kylo Caesar Catalina is his actual
name. That's it.
Yeah. All right, what do you think of Adam?
I mean, I feel like he did it exactly as it should be, and whether that's good or bad. There are moments of absolute, like, he's digging deep, and there are times, like you said, you want to capture his movements.
Whatever that movement is that he does.
But you know who he reminds me of? Nicolas Cage, also in the Coppola family.
Yeah, I'm surprised Nicolas Cage didn't show up.
Might have been there. Maybe he's in disguise in the background, you know.
There's some movements that Adam Driver does that are, it's hysterical to me. Because he's like coming into this room, he's got a cape on.
Yeah,
and he's got a cape on. And he ducks down a little bit and kind of like scoots along. And I'm like, what is this? Are we doing a dance? And then I realized, oh, he's got this particular way about it. He doesn't like the mess in that room, does he? He's trying to go around the mess.
Correct.
And he kind of tails off with the weirdness towards the end, did you notice?
Yes.
He's not quite as weird towards the end. But at the beginning, I was like, this is great. I want to do that in real life and see what people think of it. Because it's very fun.
Just do it then.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing that can happen?
That from today, that's how I am. I'm wearing a hat, a cape, and I'm gonna.
That's it. Like, no, you're naked with a hat and a cape.
Yeah, and go around on my knees everywhere
and like swoop around, like you know that thing.
Is this place getting messier?
So you like the Saltburn dance, and you probably love the dance that she did in Dinner in America, and you like this guy's movement. So I'm getting a clear picture of how you actually want to move in the world.
I am actually a avant-garde dancer.
You are.
We got Giancarlo Esposito as Mayor Cicero.
Which we will always call him the Chicken Man.
The Chicken Man, of course. He plays the same kind of person a lot, doesn't he?
Sure.
And this one's another one of those kind of
Sure.
What would you call him? Almost like a comic book villain?
Yeah, he plays the mayor who is, like, they describe him as greedy, and he wants things to stay the same. So status quo of giving jobs to the people and building infrastructure and all these kind of boring ideas that don't seem to be working.
I liked him. I do like him. I think he brings an air of something to him. And especially when in this movie, near the beginning, he had to do like almost theatrical speech.
Yeah.
I think he did that well. I've not really seen him do that before. We've got Aubrey Plaza as Wow Platinum. She was my favorite thing in the whole movie because she really committed to what she was doing.
Yes.
She is like this corrupt.
Well, she is we're not going to say ambitious because ambitious isn't bad. No. She is a journalist. We're going to put that in quotation marks.
Yeah.
She has the microphone and she does the interviews with all the sort of rich and powerful people, but she wants to be the rich and powerful person. And so she kind of she totally manipulates everything to claw her own way, not because she's female and not because she's anything else. She's just a person who is broken and she wants, but then we find out all she really wants is Caesar. And he's like the sort of like unstable genius over here with also lots of money. And she just
uses like a sex appeal to slither around and get in.
Kind of. I don't even see it that way. I feel like she sees the other rich guy, the guy who owns the bank.
Right.
He's bored and he needs something exciting. And so she kind of fills that gap.
Exactly. We've got Shia LaBeouf as Claudio Pulcher.
Now he
is a person who throws himself into something.
He's almost my favorite thing in the movie because he absolutely owns that shit.
Every time I see him as well, I'm like, he looks like he needs a bath. I'm like, he looks like he's really gone for this character with this.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's hard to...
He's like the grandson of the guy who owns all the banks. And all these people are cousins, by the way. Do we mention that Caesar and the mayor and the rich guy who owns the bank? It's just like back in the Caesar days and in the Coppola family. As we find out, they're all related. And so Shia LaBeouf plays a guy who is a cousin to Caesar, who is the Adam Driver, Kylo Ren genius guy. And he's always been bitter and jealous and sort of angry with his cousin. Yes, the cousin gets all the attention. But and then he's pissed off because he might not even be heir to Grandpa's banking fortune. So he kind of takes that out on everybody.
Yeah, and also...
But I really was compelled by watching him. From the moment he came on, I was like, oh.
The character is very hard to like.
He is very hard to like.
And he also, with his politicking and his manipulation.
He's a terrible person.
It goes horribly.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got John Voight as Hamilton Crassus III.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people in this movie, to be fair, like big name people. You're like, whoa.
Absolutely. Dustin Hoffman.
I really like Natalie Emanuel as Julia Cicero.
Absolutely.
She's from Game of Thrones. That's the first place I saw her in. But I think she really held her own in this. She was the leading lady of this movie.
Absolutely.
And then Lawrence Fishburne as Fundy Romaine. He's also the narrator over the top of
totally.
this movie.
That's his main role, is narrating.
There's like he's the narrator, but then he's also a character, and sometimes he's narrating as the character. It's
true.
He's messing with the fourth wall.
Oh.
Directed by Francis Ford Coppola, Apocalypse Now, The Godfather, Rumblefish, Bram Stoker's Dracula, many more. What do you think of this direction?
Well, first you need to explain to all the kids what the fourth wall is.
It's when the actor talks to the audience.
Well, why is it called the fourth wall?
I don't know. It's something to do with it. Is it to do with stage plays? Like
I would think so, yes. Because in a play, you have three walls, the sides and the back. You don't. The fourth wall is you as the audience. Yeah, see?
See, I did know.
It's good to challenge and tell everybody the rules of the game.
All right, directed. What do you think of the directing?
This is where I fall into the, oh my God, it's so pretentious category. And the camp of people who think that.
Yes.
Because it's all over the place. There are segments and shots and scenes where you're just grounded in our own reality. And then there's like weirdness, which I don't dislike, but then it has no overriding thing about it. And when any particular thing starts to happen, it doesn't really go with the vibe always. So we're used to, maybe I just need to shake loose all of my expectations, but like, when you have something that's a little bit wobbly or shaky cam, you're kind of supposed to think this is the mind of the person and we're confused and it's unstable, blah, blah, blah. It kind of mixes it up.
Yeah.
With the cinematography.
The cinematography is excellent.
Yeah, but then it has moments as well of like, you're not making any point here.
No, there is a lot. When I said earlier that it feels like a music video sometimes. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of that where you're just like, okay, here's a car looking at a thing. Oh, and here's a man. And oh, here's a red light. And then, oh, here's some ladies dancing. And you're like, how did all that, what am I supposed to take from that? Apart from it looks really cool.
Maybe that's it.
And it's filling in some time. I don't know. And sometimes he does a thing with the satellite in the sky. And then it doesn't really.
Well, it falls eventually, but then we don't have any, there's no story around that at all, which was
sometimes
a bit
it's
weird.
Just like a fragmented idea almost.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of understand that early on. If you were thinking, I have to make sense of every single frame of this.
Don't.
It's impossible because
don't worry yourself.
There are some frames which I believe are just there because it looks good.
Controversial.
Yeah. I think it looks good. There is some ropey CGI.
Oh my God, yes. I was trying to forget about that.
It's more like I'm on a green screen. Oh, look, it's people on a green screen. Like the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
So I don't think the CGI is actually bad. I think it's just like, oh, people don't look like they're in the place they're supposed to be. Like when they stood on that clock, for instance. The face of a clock. It's like, oh, look, they're in a circular room and the clock doesn't exist. That's how it feels.
And on the beams when they're hanging there, which is like the, what was his name? The guy who did the comedy stuff, Harold.
Yeah, Harold Lloyd. Yeah.
Yes, where he does the dangling on the clock and then on the beams and all that. And I think, again, I think this is a combination. And I said, it's like mixing together Roman texts. We even refer to old ancient books by having the ladies are in a room, like a library, but it's full of the rolled up texts, not just books. I mean, it's like the old fashioned stuff, like from Alexandria.
Yep.
Then you have mixed with Shakespearean stuff, mixed with Dickens. Like there's
sometimes people speak Latin.
Yes. And there's this totally like Christmas Story where you see the little poor urchins on the street, like looking all dirty. And then you see the ultra rich, grumpy people. So, I mean, it's a combination of all kinds of stuff.
It's a lot to take in. I feel like when I said I wouldn't watch it again, I feel like you could probably take something else away from it, seeing it again.
Probably.
Because there's a lot of, what the hell am I looking at the first time? The second time you might go, okay, I understand what that is now after knowing what's happened in this movie. Now maybe it's a couple of watches to get it under your skin.
Mm.
IMDB reviews, what are those? Oh, you know these are going to be interesting.
Oh, yeah. These are reviews where people give it 1 star, and you love to read them because they make fun of it, or they say things like waste of time, worst movie ever made, it's overrated. All the ratings that are good are purchased or AI and other things like that.
Yes, and there are 73 1-star reviews.
Oh, okay. That's more than usual.
It's very high, yeah. All right. The first person says, worst movie of the year, maybe even of the decade.
Dun, dun, dun. It's a classic. It's a classic.
Painfully dull, self-indulgent, pretentious, and an incoherent mess of a movie. It looks cheap, the lighting feels off, the CG is all over the place, and it's very bad.
Okay, got it. Under the belt. We've got one under the belt.
Performances are also all over the place. Everyone tries something else, which makes the whole thing a mess. I don't disagree with any of what you just said.
True.
They do. People do try some really odd performances.
Yep.
And I think Shia LaBeouf. I think Shia LaBeouf actually works.
It does. It works beautifully.
Yeah, because he's just like, fuck it.
He's the guy who is that guy.
Yeah.
So I'm totally down with this. I would watch him in a movie as that character.
Right.
Like if you'd reshoot the whole movie where he's the main thing, I'd watch that.
Second guy says, absolute garbage.
Garbage.
Was looking forward to watching this movie. Unfortunately, after 40 minutes, I walked out. The storyline is non-existent with random scene after random scene. It's garbage, don't waste your money. You could rewatch any other Francis Ford Coppola movie that you've seen 1,000 times and be more entertained.
Don't they mean Scorsese?
Yes. And the last guy says, chaotic and unbearably boring. I watched the trailer, I liked the idea, and decided to go to a movie theatre to watch this. The movie was boring from the very beginning, and I wanted to try to stay till the end. However, after 2 hours, I gave up and left the movie theatre, for the first time ever, by the way, and I was not the only one who left.
I would never leave, because, I mean, why? What's the point of leaving?
Unless, your wife is having a baby, and it's just about to pop out. You got to run.
Is that good enough?
Well, maybe.
I don't know.
I was trying to think of the most intense situation that you might have to leave for.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's maybe it.
Maybe.
Yeah. All right, so those are the IMDb reviews. Let's give this movie... We didn't see any extras because it was the streaming version. But let's give this movie a score. I'm going to give Megalopolis... Oh, it's really hard. I might have to give it one more extra for effort.
Is that how it works?
So I think I'll give it a 6 out of 10.
Is that like getting a ribbon just for running in the race?
I feel like 5 seems fair from me, but then I feel like 6 for effort because I do appreciate something like going all out for something like this.
I'm giving it a 7.5 because it gave me a great experience. It's not going to be a 9. Oh, no. It's flawed. I am not, I don't get delusional about things just because I love them. And I say that, but that's probably true about some things. But I get it.
Can I roll it back to a 5?
You think it's just average? Your experience of watching this movie.
I think it's like 5 point something because of the artistry part of it.
Yeah, but
I like the artistry of it, but I don't particularly like everything else.
But you must not say, I rated on my experience. So definitely 7.5.
I think I'll go for a 5.5, even though I don't do points.
You don't? Oh,
so really a 5.
You broke up. Or really a 6.
Yeah, maybe. Somewhere between there. It's fair.
I don't think that's fair. I disagree. That's not fair at all.
Well, I'm unfair then.
You are.
All right, so thank you to Lionsgate. Next week, we're going to look at the new A24 movie. It's Florence Pugh and Simon Garfield. Simon Garfield? He's not Simon Garfield. Andrew Garfield.
Andrew Garfield.
Who the hell is Simon Garfield? Florence Pugh and
Are you thinking
Andrew.
of Simon and Garfunkel?
Yeah, maybe. Paul Simon and Florence Garfunkel in We Live in Time. We're going to look at that next week. Movie recommendations. I was watching this movie and then I thought of a couple of movies.
All right.
One was American Honey.
Yep, because of him.
Because of Shia. I don't love Shia, Shia LaBeouf. I don't love him most of the time. But American Honey, again, it was like that. almost feels like he's just playing himself. So it really fits the guy.
So
he
are we
plays.
saying he's like a genius actor performer, or is he not at all? He's just being
I don't really know.
whatever.
I think it's in the mid. I think he lives in like a Nicolas Cage scenario where he just throws himself into shit. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't. And if it does, it does.
Which I appreciate. I actually like that.
I think that's a good way of going at things.
We benefit from people like that because loving movies and whatnot, we benefit from that. So.
And Aubrey Plaza, we just watched Agatha All Along, which is the new Marvel, the sequel to WandaVision. And I really enjoyed it. Thought it was really fun. And she was in that. And she was also really fun in that. And you said she was kind of the same character in that as she is in this.
Like ornery. This was taken up a notch, obviously. Let's take it up a notch, like from American Dinner in America. And more focused. So I appreciated her. You could really see the hunger in some of those scenes of this character's like, I'm going to get what I want, you know? So I feel like she did a good job there.
All right. And yours are?
Mine are going back to the 20th century. And, you know, we've only got a few more weeks of this method. I'm going to have to think of something new. So from 1900 to 1999, we're into the 90s, looks like. So we've got The Abyss.
Oh, yeah.
Charlotte's Web. Two very different movies. Breakdown. Also very different.
I don't know Breakdown. What is it?
Breakdown, I believe, is Ghost Guy. And him and his wife break down on the road and she gets kidnapped by a trucker.
Patrick Swayze.
I think so. I know I've seen it because it's on my list.
Sir Patrick of Swayze.
Then we have Red Dawn, which of course is not from the 90s. That'll be from the 80s. Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Excellent.
Yes, so it's a combination. And I'm not telling you these because of the quality or that I'm telling you to see them or that they have anything to do with this movie. I just want you to be exactly like me. So you need to watch all these movies.
Thank you. Well said. Ascully stuff this week. I've been playing a game called Valefor. You know, have you heard of this one?
No.
Valefor.
No.
It's Valefor. So I've been playing it on the Steam Deck, actually. It's if you want a game for your Steam Deck, it plays particularly well on there. I'll tell you what it is from their description. It's a roguelite. You often hear me say this, Cidtalk. What the hell's a roguelite or a roguelike?
Yeah, roguelite? Isn't that right?
This one's a roguelite. There's so many different descriptions for games.
Okay.
So what this one is, it's an auto-battling RPG. It's a genre in itself.
Okay.
It's you pick your characters. They're on a little, like, it almost looks like a chessboard. And they have different attributes that you've chosen at the beginning. And they automatically fight each other and you wait for the outcome.
Okay.
And they either win or they lose, and then you get loot to carry on with your adventure, or you all die or whatever. You've got to keep them all alive, and you're not fighting. There's no pressing of any button. Once you've set them up, you put them in their places. It's like a chessboard. You can say, like, I want this guy at the front and that guy at the back. You set them all up. You press go. The other team on the other side, it's a game of numbers, basically. Are your numbers higher than their numbers?
Gotcha.
You watch them fight, and then they all fight.
It's basically like one of those little card games.
Yes,
or
without
Dungeons
the cards.
and Dragons.
I guess the cards are your little characters because you unlock more different characters as you go along.
I get you.
And it's a cool game to play on the Steam Deck because it's not like it doesn't require ultra graphics or anything. And each time you do win a battle and then you go back to the main screen, you get some loot, and it makes, maybe you get a cool sword, and then you can equip your lady with a cool sword, and then your next battle will be a bit easier. So it's,
you say lady because tell everyone that every game that you can create a character.
I do always like to create a lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like badass ladies fighting. That's what I like.
I'm not sure what that says about you, but I like it.
Yeah. So this is Valefor. It's out now on Steam. And again, I would tell you how much it costs, but it's not going to tell me, is it? Oh, fantastic. I can tell you how much it costs. Steam have fixed it.
Oh my goodness.
It says Valefor is already in your Steam library, but you can buy a copy here if you're buying it for a gift. It never used to have that.
Okay.
Anyway, the game is $14.99. Not bad at all, because it's the kind of game, if you really get into it, you'll be playing it for 90, 100 hours. There's a lot of strategy going on. So Valefor, that is out now. We also watched a movie, I mentioned it earlier, Dinner in America.
Aye.
We didn't review it on this show because we watched it. We just had an extra movie day last week.
It was a bonus movie, yeah. I was sad, and you said, let's have another movie day.
I give it a 9 out of 10. Dinner in America.
Woo! You give that over Francis Ford Coppola?
I absolutely do. I think it was. I think it was all the things. It was sweet. It was touching. It was very funny. It had something to say about the world. It had an awesome song. It was about punk rockers.
Punk rock. You're punk as fuck.
Yeah, it was just a very fun, offbeat kind of. It's one for the offbeat type of people, isn't it?
You like a sweet movie. I know you do.
It's very sweet, though, isn't it? It really is. In an angry kind of punk rock way.
Everything sweet is angry at some point.
I mean, it's got the most anger ever, and also it's super sweet.
Correct.
What would you give that?
I'll give it an 8.
It was excellent.
Yeah, I really liked that.
So I just wanted to mention that Dinner in America is from 2020, but I recommend it. Cidtalk, what's for dinner?
Well, you have declared that we will be having the Taco Bell.
Yes, taco smell.
As you like, yeah. People like to call it taco smell. It's not fair, but that's what we do.
Is it because it smells bad or you smell bad after you've eaten it?
I don't know. It's one of
Probably
those.
both.
One of those.
All right, Cidtalk, what's your advice? And let's get out of here.
My advice isn't really advice, except maybe it is. Maybe you can interpret it that way. It's just this. Be sure. So I'm definitively telling you that you do not become obligated to ritual because of ritual. So a thing that everyone's always done and it's tradition and it's a ritual thing that we do just because we do it. And then you're doing it because you are supposed to do it. But if it no longer has any heart and soul and does no good in the world, like it's not really benefiting you or anyone. It's just, you're like a puppet on a string. Like, oh, we've always done it, so we're gonna do it. Dun, dun, dun. What's the name of that Murder Cafe? That song? Dun, 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 dun. Welcome to the Murder Cafe.
You mean the Clown Cafe?
The Clown Cafe. Like that kind of maniacal song, like, we're just gonna do it because your parents did it and their parents did it forever and ever until everybody's...
The food's a little funny at the Clown Cafe.
Right. The rituals are stupid at the Clown Cafe. If a thing that needs to be done doesn't feel right. So, as I said, my mother passed away very recently. In fact, it has been less than 3 weeks. And so there are lots of rituals that go with this. My siblings and I have a brother and 2 sisters, all older than me. Irrelevant, but there you go. And there are a set of rituals that go with the situation, you know, and according to the person's wishes. So my mother did have wishes of a ceremony type of a thing and having people gather and whatnot. If it were up to each of us individually, I think we would have changed the narrative there, but that's what she specifically told us and wrote down, and we did it. That's part of the ritual, right? And it was good. It was good for everyone. Sad, but good. Then there are other rituals that layered on top where you have to question a little bit, like the sending of thank yous. So my mother was associated with a little historical society, and she was absolutely in love with it for the last 20 or 30 years. And of course, her thing was for everyone to please donate to the Historical Society in her name. And so we got a lot of money for that. And so the idea is, oh, well, then a ritual would be you have to send everyone a little card that says thank you for your donation specifically, right? So you gather the addresses and you get the envelopes and whatnot. I'm not opposed to this ritual. But as my sister said, our mom was also very much in love with her telephone and with technology and the internet. And she was 83 and she loved Facebook. And instead of calling someone, she'd send them a nice note on her phone because she believed that digitally communicating with people was equal to calling them or sending them a note or whatever, right? So now the ritual of being forced the idea of sending everyone a little card, it's like, am I doing it because it just exists as a thing? Or am I doing it because it makes us all feel better? Like, why are we doing that? So I'm questioning that. And that's a little one. That's not a big deal. But it can be applied to a lot of ritualistic behaviors that people just do because. And if it doesn't serve you well, I say let it go. And that's it.
All right, ascully.com. That's the place you can go to get this podcast. You can also go to Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, or YouTube, anywhere the podcasts are available. You can catch us both on social media. I'm Ascully, she's Cidtalk. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Is it still called Twitter? I'm calling it Twitter forever.
Do it.
And you can email feedback to me, ascully@ascully.com. Do not email Cidtalk. She doesn't want your emails. And stay classy, Mr. Francis Ford Coppola. There was definitely something classy here. But not to my tastes fully.
Don't you mean Francis Ford Coppola Scorsese?
Francis Ford Scorsese Coppola.
And I'm going to say think for yourself. Please think for yourself, because if you don't do it, someone's already doing it for you.